Good morning, Scopers. My name is Elemento, and this is TechnoScope, the channel for all things tech and gaming hardware. This is the second show of a live stream that I'm doing Monday mornings. I started last week. Um, More or less, this is just to give you a little info about what's going on with the channel, plus a little tech news involved with it. Um, Not really sure how exactly this show will evolve, but we'll go at it as it comes along. And of course, your feedback is always wanted. You can always let me know if there's something you like or something you don't like, or if I should add something, change things on the show, whatever you want to have, basically. Let me go over a couple things going on. The first thing I want to say is that I renamed this show. Um, it was originally this week on TechnoScope, but I decided to rename the show This is TechnoScope. It's not necessarily what's going on in the previous or the upcoming week. This is more about this is the show. This is about TechnoScope, the channel, in the community. So I renamed it to This is TechnoScope. Also, I just wanted to point out we do have a group community for this channel. It's sn.technoscope.tv, and that'll take you to the Scoper Nation community. You have to be a member of Facebook to join. It is a Facebook community. And I decided to go that way instead of doing a forum because it's just easier to use Facebook security than to try to do my own thing. So that's how we got there. Next thing I want to mention is if you haven't noticed, and you might not have because I haven't uploaded any videos since I've done this, but late last week I demonetized the entire channel. The only thing that remains monetized are things like the unboxing video I did for the NES Classic last year, because Nintendo did a claim on that, and we're doing like revenue sharing so that I don't, I guess, completely lose out. It's not an option. Either I share revenue with them or I have to take the video down. So in that particular case, it's still monetized. The only other video I believe that's monetized is the one about electronic theory. There's a whole series that I was supposed to be doing on that. I have to get back to doing that pretty soon, where I teach electronics theory. I've only done the first show, but there are like 15 others planned for that series that I haven't gotten to yet. But that series, because I'm not reviewing anything, because it's just really free knowledge. Those videos will remain monetized, but the others won't. And the reason I did this was because I noticed that when I upload a review video, say my Creative Minds or Collective Minds Media Hub video, which was my most popular video to date. There's like 386,000 views on it now. I noticed that after, not after a while, I guess more recently, within the last few months or so, all of a sudden these ads started appearing in the video under the title, but before the description. So it kind of looks like I made these links that you could click on to buy the Collective Minds Media Hub, where it's really links that Google put in there. And when you use those links, Google is the one making the money instead of me. So I saw this serious drop off in affiliate money earlier this year, and I think that might be why. All my big videos had this box where they were selling this. They were showing where you could buy that product, and I think people were clicking on that instead of using the links that I was providing. And in the interest of this channel, so that it doesn't just completely die, I disabled monetization. That's a big reason why. The other reason is that most people, I'm not gonna say most people, but there's a large segment of the population that when they see an ad, a pre-roll ad on a video, they just click off of it and go to something else, and it really hurts your view rate. So, in the interest of getting the views up as well, that's another reason why I did it. Let's see. Wow, all the way from Holland. Thanks for watching, man. Thanks for watching. I'm not really sure how to pronounce your name, Jeroen, I think. But thanks for watching. The next thing I want to talk about, the Xbox One X comes out tomorrow. As I said, this channel was built on hardware for the Xbox One. I ended up canceling my pre-order. I'll probably get it eventually, but probably not tomorrow. I seriously doubt tomorrow. I need to concentrate on other things other than getting the actual console itself. But I will probably start running an ad, not on this channel, but like a YouTube ad, showing or advertising my video on the hardware, the hard drive guide for Xbox One X. Need to get the views up on that video, and it was actually intended for this release. Is it Jeroen? I'm sorry, man. But thanks for watching. Seriously, thanks for watching. Let's see. Yeah, there's not really much to say about that. The Xbox One X releases tomorrow, or I guess midnight. Videos I got coming up this week. There's one I'm going to do about RGB LEDs for like your setup for to go like behind your monitor and under your desk and all that stuff. That video was actually supposed to be done it was supposed to be done a lot longer than last week, but I was going to do it last week and then things came up and it didn't get done. So I'll be working on that today. Shouldn't be a long video. It's just kind of, showing you demoing a product really. And it was a manufacturer supplied product. Let's see. Oh, this week, I said last week that we're supposed to be debuting the new channel Nerd Unpacked, which is about, nerd stuff, more or less Marvel Universe, DC Universe, comic books, childhood things like Legos, action figures, all kinds of just nerd entertainment, more or less. We're going to try to do the intro video on this channel Wednesday, introducing you to the crew that's going to be running that channel. I have 3 guys, or 2 guys and a girl, I guess, and we'll be doing the intro, a live stream on this channel, hopefully Wednesday afternoon, probably somewhere around 3 p.m. Central Time, if it happens. But you'll just have to stay tuned because it's not set in stone when exactly we're going to do it yet. There may or may not be spoilers because we might talk about Stranger Things, and we might talk about Thor Ragnarok because we went and saw that this weekend. Not really sure. We'll see. 2 of them didn't see it with us, so it depends. If they haven't seen it, we won't cover it, but we'll let you know ahead of time if there's going to be spoilers. On my sports channel, #champs, which you can get to by going to spelling out #champs.tv in your web browser. We have a local radio host, Mike Sean, that's supposed to be joining us on November 19th. It is more or less official at this point. So if you're local to Dallas and you listen to K104, Mike Sean should be joining us Sunday morning. Okay. He's saying that I should consider the float plane, and I'm not big enough for float plane. I can't even say it. See, I can't even get the words out. I'm not big enough for float plane. I'm not even on Linus's radar at this point. And besides, it's a invitation thing right now. Linus has to actually reach out to you and invite you to come to the platform. So at this point, there's no way that that's going to happen. Um, Later down the road, as his channel grows, maybe, probably, possibly. Um, we'll see. That's the only things I wanted to cover about Technoscope and our other channels. I really think most of our community, or at least a good part of our community, will enjoy Nerd Unpacked. Um, it's not a tech thing, but there is a lot of things that techies generally like to talk about and discuss and watch. So keep an eye out for that. Like I said, Wednesday is going to be the day. So with that said, let's get into the articles that I highlighted this week. For my game streamers, this is pretty huge. Now, if you're watching this live stream, you know that I'm actually capturing and streaming this live stream in 4K right now, or you have the option to watch it if you have the hardware. 4K has already been a thing, despite some of the streamers that I talked to who said that it isn't. 4K is definitely a thing. And Elgato is pretty much, so they're putting it in cement here, saying that for gamers there's now a 4K capture card. And not only is it 4K, it, unlike the capture cards that I have that do 4K 30, this one does 4K 60, so smooth 60 frames per second capture of PC, or the consoles that are supposed to do 60 frames per second. So if you're a streamer or a gamer, or if you have like the updated cameras, if you're a YouTuber, GH5, there's a few Sonys in there as well that do 4K 60. This is a great device to have. Now, one thing I will say is the price on this is a little high. It's $400. That's a little hard to swallow, but if you're really pushing 4K 60, I guess you do what you got to do. The capture cards I have are half that price. The Intensity Pro 4K by Blackmagic, they're only 4K 30, but they're also only like $190 a piece. So I don't know. It depends on what you want more. Now, I should also say that the Intensity Pro 4K is not a gaming capture card. It was meant more for production, like I do. And the biggest difference that you will see is that the output from the Intensity Pro 4K is not necessarily instant, because the video is actually processed and then sent back out. So if you're somebody who's running your video feed into the capture card and back out to your monitor, that's not going to be the card that you want to have. You want to have something like the Elgato 4K 60, where the output is basically mirroring the input, and whatever you run into the input is coming straight out the output with no lag. That allow you to play your games, and you don't have to have any problems like that. So that's where that extra $200 is going. Good card. I've been kind of waiting for it. I was hoping that it was going to be cheaper, but it is what it is, I guess. Let's see. I'll figure out which mouse I need here. Okay, so just this previous week, Bitcoin has reached $7,000. 7,000. It was 3,000. They made a big deal about it when it hit $3,000 a few months ago. Now it's gone past 7,000, and they're expecting it to hit $8,000 pretty soon. So, this is good and bad. It depends on what side of the argument you're on. If you're a gamer and you're waiting for those cards, the demand on the cards to decrease, maybe not. Bitcoin is not a huge thing in the mining community anymore, because it's hard to actually mine for it. You have to be a huge miner with a huge setup to actually mine Bitcoin these days. Um, but mining other things and then having it converted to Bitcoin is a thing. So I'm not really sure how this is going to play out on the gaming market, or as far as GPUs are concerned. Um, but it's one thing to keep in mind. It's still going up. Um, I do want to say there was a discussion on, I think it was a PC Master Race group on Facebook. I'm not really sure which one it was. But somebody was saying that they think that the Bitcoin bubble is going to pop soon. Let me tell you why that's a misconception. Bitcoin is not a company. It doesn't follow the same rules as the stock market. The stock market follows these rules where it's following companies. Companies have quarterly earnings. They have reports on what they're going to do, and if they meet those earnings or if they exceed them, then the stock moves accordingly. Bitcoin is kind of like a commodity. It's a thing that you get. It's there. There's believe it or not, there's actually a limited number of Bitcoins out there, and the more people that want them, and the more people with money that want them, the more the price is going to go up. So there's no real limit on where Bitcoin can go. It's not going to follow the stock market. It's gonna do more like gold does than it is the stock market. But the thing about gold is still something that you can mine from the ground, whereas Bitcoin is eventually going to run out, and you're just not going to have any more. And the more people using it, the more it's going to be worth. If you're not, if let me say it this way. Aside from the GPU shortage that cryptocurrency causes, you should still be looking at Bitcoin, because even if you don't mine it, you can use Bitcoin as a way to make money. You put your money in just like any stock that you would buy, except that you don't have to go through a broker or anything. You just download like Coinbase or something, buy Bitcoin, and as the price goes up, you make money. You buy low, you sell high. And Bitcoin is fluctuating all the time. It just recently went down to like $2,000, and I think that was like less than a month ago. And now here we are at $7,000. So if you would have put your money in when it went down to $2,000, say you put $100 in there, you'd have what, $350, $400, close to $400, something like that, depending on where it is right now. Approaching $400 based off that $100 of Bitcoin that you bought back then. It's an easy way to make money, guys. There's no other way to say it. Even if you're not mining, you don't have to mine it. You don't have to set up any hardware. Just download one of those apps, buy Bitcoin when it's low, sell it when it's high. You make money. I don't know. I was gonna do a video on that. I never got around to it, but may still do it one day. And I'm using the wrong mouse again. This was unexpected last week. I had no clue this was even coming, but Linus did a live stream, and it was a kind of like a live reaction to the stream announcing this phone. Razer acquired I think it's I want to say it's called Nextbit. They acquired a phone company, and they're now building their own phone. And this one right here is a pretty decent phone. It has front-facing speakers that are supposed to get loud. It has the fastest Qualcomm processor you can get right now. It has 8 gigs of RAM, which is crazy. Pretty great screen, which has a refresh rate up to 120 hertz. Not always 120 hertz, but up to. 4,000 milliamp hour battery, which they made a big deal about, but I did a video back in May about the R1, the blue R1 Plus that had a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. It's not rare. It's not necessarily rare to have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. It's rare in flagship phones because the flagship phones, they seem to emphasize thinness over battery capacity for whatever reason. Um, this is a pretty good phone, and in my opinion, for the price, it's hard to beat. Um, the Pixel 2 XL, I believe, is like 150 or 100 $850, something like that. The Note 8 is somewhere around 1,000. The iPhone X is also somewhere around 1,000. Um, this phone is coming in at $700, and it's competing with the big guys, and in some ways, beating the big guys. So it's not necessarily it looks pretty good, but it's not necessarily the best looking phone, but it's pretty great. And not only that, Razer has said that it's running stock Android. Of course, they have to tweak things because of the screen, the hardware that they're using, and everything. But more or less, they're using stock Android. And the only difference is the Pixel launcher is not available on other phones, so you're not getting the Pixel launcher. They're including Nova Launcher Prime for free, which is great because when I was on Android, Nova Launcher was always my go-to launcher anyway. There's nothing more flexible that you will ever see on Android. So anyway, good phone. I might actually get one. I still have my iPhone 7 Plus, and I'm ready to go back to Android. So that is one of the phones at the top of my list. Zotac released. Okay, I'll admit I haven't really actually read through this article very well. But they're from what I get, more or less, they have enabled an overclocking profile on their cards. It's kind of the 1070 Ti is kind of one of those devices that really shouldn't exist, because there was already two cards right there, the 1070 and 1080, which were pretty close together in terms of performance. And Nvidia decided, because AMD came out with their card, which is doing better than the 1070, they needed to one up them. And so they're jamming this card in between the 1070 and 1080 to have something that does better than AMD. To me, it seems pointless, because if people wanted better than the 1070, they wanted better than the AMD card, they would just go with the 1080, right? I think there's like a $50 difference if you buy the cards at the suggested retail price. To me, it seems pointless. I don't know. It's almost a case of Nvidia has too much money on their hands, in my opinion. This card really did not need to exist, but Zotac has come out and said, well, Nvidia said that because of where this card sits, they don't want it outperforming the 1080. So they've kind of locked it down, which is very un-Nvidia like. And Zotac has come in and said, we don't care about that. We're going to enable overclocking profiles that let you do it anyway. And that's kind of the thing. I don't know. Zotac and Nvidia, there might be a back and forth. I don't know if there is. I'll keep an eye out for it. Going into the other news, cable TV's downward spiral continues with more cord cutting at Comcast and Charter. Now, this is one thing I really like. Now, typically I wouldn't care, but if you're in the U.S. and you have internet, if you have any internet that's slower than 50 megabit right now, the reason you have internet that's slow is because the cable companies. Excuse me. Would I recommend a new high-end card, considering the upcoming new series, you're talking about Volta. I'm assuming if you're buying the 10 and the 1070 Ti, if you're in that market, it may or may not really matter to you. I'm not really sure. It depends on what cards Nvidia decides to drop next year when they do release their new cards. They usually start with the 80 series, so it's probably going to be like the high end card, and then they'll give you whatever the upgrade from the 1070 will be. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. There's so many factors in play right now with the mining community, with the fact that AMD is actually relevant again. We don't really know where Volta is going to go and when it's going to come. We have AMD is relevant, but at the same time, above that, Nvidia has cards that are outperforming everything they have still. So I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. If somebody's giving you a Christmas present, go ahead and take it. That's the only thing I could say. If you're gonna buy a card, you're in that situation where whenever you buy something, it's always going to be obsolete, or not necessarily obsolete, but there's going to be something better months down the road. It always happens with computers. It never fails. So you have to pick a time to jump in. If you're buying very soon, I would say go ahead and get the 1070. If you have great hardware, if you have like a 1070, 1080, right? Or I guess you wouldn't buy it if you have a 1080, but if you have a 1070, don't even consider the 1070 Ti. There's no point. But if you're upgrading from like a 9 series, definitely I would go ahead and get it, because the 1070 from this generation is outperforming the Titan X from last generation, the Maxwell Titan X. So if you're getting a 1070 Ti, you're already beating that anyway. So if you're buying very soon, go ahead and get it. If you plan to buy early next year, then you might want to wait. That's the only thing I can really say for that. I don't have insider information, so I can't really give you any dates or tell you what's coming up. But back to the story, the cable TV's downward spiral. What I was saying was that the reason that the internet infrastructure in the United States is so crippled is because cable companies are intentionally trying to keep the speed slow. They know that if you have high speed internet, you are far more likely to cancel cable and go with streaming services such as Netflix and Hulu than you are to keep paying their high prices. And it's one of these things people really want a la carte. They want to pay for the channels they want to see, and they don't want to pay for the channels they don't want to see. But that creates a problem for small channels that a lot of people don't watch, because the only way and the only reason they're surviving is because they jump into these packages with the bigger channels, and people buy those packages and they get a piece of the money. So I can't really say I feel sorry for them, because I am a businessman, and the name of business is you either change or die. It happened with local company Blockbuster years ago. They had a chance. They were offered a chance to buy Netflix. Netflix approached them and were like, buy our company. And Blockbuster was like, nah, we'll do our own thing. And we see where Blockbuster is, and we see where Netflix is. So I can't really say I have any love for them. The cable companies, if you don't know this, the cable companies are also the reason net neutrality exists. They're also fighting hard against net neutrality. They also are the biggest lobbyists in the country. They spend more money lobbying than any other segment of the tech community, or any community for that matter. All because they're trying to control customers so that they can make sure that cable survives, and cable is not going to survive. It's on the way out. I'm actually doing a video pretty soon. I'm starting the series on the channel about cord cutting. Um, the splitter right here is going to be working in conjunction with a an antenna that I bought that I'm going to review for people who need over the air signals. Um, One of the best antennas I've ever seen. I'm going to show a whole setup where you can use either your computer or something like the NVIDIA Shield or even a Plex server if you have one of those. And you can get the local channels so that you can watch the news and you can, watch local sports if you're into that. And more or less use Netflix for everything else. The only true reason to have cable these days is to watch sports, and a lot of my community don't even watch sports. So, it's guys, cable is dying. There's no way around that. They haven't accepted it yet, but it's pretty much written on the wall. Let's see. There was a demo, and I forgot what the demo was about. I watched part of the video, but there was a demo where Microsoft was having huge event. People were in this arena and they're watching this event live, and they couldn't get their service to work with the Edge browser. So the guy literally goes to Google's website and starts downloading Chrome so that he can run the service and finish the demo. You can't make this stuff up. It's so awesome. There's not really anything to say about this. I just thought it was funny. Yeah, Microsoft, and as much power as they have, you think they would have perfected the browser by now, and somehow they used to own the browser market. Internet Explorer used to be the biggest, the most used browser by far. And then Google came in and were like, well, we can do it better. And Google's Chrome is one of the more compliant browsers. I don't think any browser, I haven't looked into this in quite some time, but years ago when I looked into this, there was no browser that was 100% compliant. But Chrome, Opera, and Firefox, I believe, were the top three most compliant. And more or less, because Chrome is the most used browser now, most things are designed to work on Chrome. But that's pretty funny. That's almost like, watching Apple, unveil a new iPhone feature and then have to pull out a Samsung to show you how it works. That's pretty bad. There's nothing new here. Microsoft blocks Kaby Lake and Ryzen PCs from Windows 7 8 updates. They've been telling you this was coming a long time ago. They don't even want you to install Windows 7 or 8 on these older platforms. I'm kind of torn on this. It's one of those things like you should be able to select which one you want to install, right? And if I'm not mistaken, they don't even readily provide the drivers that you need for Windows 7 and 8 for these new processors. I can kind of understand Microsoft's side, but as a consumer, this is not something you really want to see. Yeah, Windows 7 is getting up there in age. It's 8 years old now, I believe. In PC terms, that's like a 90-year-old person. So, I'm not really sure how I really feel about this. But one of the viewpoints was that Microsoft doesn't want to pay for the personnel to make sure that Kaby Lake and Ryzen has compatibility and security features and everything that goes along with it for Windows 7 and 8. I can understand that, but at the same time, as a customer that has bought the product, you kind of want to use what you want to use, right? I don't know, but anyway, is there anything else that you guys wanted to discuss quickly? Let me see. Looks like today we had up to. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's not bad considering this is on random video, I guess you would say. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on stuff I gotta do for this week. Try to join us Wednesday if you can for that intro video. And I guess that's gonna be the biggest thing. I'm gonna try to get at least 2 videos out this week. The demo video or tutorial video for Chrome and the RGB LED video. Yeah, I guess I could see that. The thing about Windows 7 to me though, Windows 8 and Windows 10, I hated Windows 8. I really did. And I used Windows 8 for a while, and then I went back to Windows 7 because I got so tired of all the BS in Windows 8 and even 8.1. And while Windows 7 ran better, I noticed that there was a big performance hit. I lost a lot of performance going back to Windows 7. I just the only reason I don't really run it is because of that. I can't give up that much performance just to stay on that OS. I deal with everything that Windows 10 does just because it runs so much quicker and smoother for me. But yeah, I get too many mice on the too many mice going on here. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get to work on those videos. Try to join us for the Nerd Unpacked intro video. And if there's anything else, I'll join the Scoper Nation community. It's sn.technoscope.tv. If there's anything else, I'll let you know on there. And other than that, I guess I'll see you guys next week and look forward to the videos. Have a good day.